Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. And we're going to talk with a really special guest, super interesting guy, entrepreneur, built and sold a company and now has a new company as well. We're going to talk about both of those. He's a cold calling monster, and we're going to talk about that for a little bit. We'll also cover the true profit formula and what are strategic expenses, the type of expenses that actually that you want to make in your business. So we're going to talk about all that good stuff. We're going to get into some really cool topics, and so stick around for that. But let's first bring in the junior grandmaster himself, Greg McDaniel, in the co-pilot seat. Greg, what's up today?
Damn it, that's where I belong, Matthew. I belong in the co-pilot seat because I am that good, and I'm going to stay that good, so I'm always going to be in the co-pilot seat. But today is a great freaking day. Why, Matt? Good question. I'm going to answer that question for you, why it's so good. It's good because it's a Friday. It's a good Friday, and that means I'm going to take my happy fat ass out to the pool tomorrow after I get to hang out with my two nephews and my niece, and because fat looks better tan. Okay, let's face that. And
that's going to be the key quote for this episode. Fat looks better tan. Greg
Everybody knows this. So I'm going to go hang out with them, but tomorrow morning I get to go hang out. I'm going to go take my two nephews and my niece and my sister and brother-in-law. We're all going to go walk around called Lafayette Reservoir, get some exercise, show the sporty spice side of us, and then we're going to go and we're going to test gluten-free pizza. I don't know how the fuck that's going to go, but damn, I'm willing to give it a run. Anything's good with hot sauce. So, whatever. Including this show. This show's even good with hot sauce. That's why I'm here.
All right. Well, for those that are joining us live, just wanted to say thank you for doing that. But if you're watching the replay here on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. And then if you want the audio version nestled between your ears right here where we
Nestled. So deep.
Head on over to iTunes and Stitcher and all that good stuff. So let's bring on our special guest, Raj. I don't want to butcher your last name, so why don't you introduce yourself and give us the 60-second bio, I should say, on who you are, where you are, and what you do right now.
And what's your favorite color?
Guys. Green.
Ah! Damn it, I'm blue. We were so close.
Despite the headphones that I'm borrowing, the red ones, definitely green. No question about that. I've loved money since I was a young kid. I don't care to spend it. I just enjoy earning it.
You're all Scrooge McDuck. You got a vault somewhere. Just dive in and swim around in it, like put rubber.
Yeah,
like
we were just talking about that 30 minutes ago in the office, and then someone was questioning me whether his last name was actually McDuck. I'm like, do you remember he had an Irish accent?
He did.
It's McDuck. Yeah, he definitely did. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. When you talk about that gluten-free pizza, one thing I know, I've had it before, you can eat a lot more pizza when it's gluten-free.
Oh, good. Thank God. I can get fat right
full. You don't get full as quick.
The fat does need to be tanned. So
that sounds like a fantastic delivery system for more varieties of meat on a pizza.
Ooh, now we're onto something, Matt.
Yeah, like gluten-free meat lovers pizza. I can eat more of it and get more Canadian bacon and sausage and pepperoni. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
sounds fantastic. All right, so before we waste the entire episode talking about food, Raj, give us a little background on yourself.
Definitely. Well, so my last name is Bhaskar, simply Oscar. Phonetically, it's Oscar with a B, so Bhaskar. Not too complicated, spelled complicated. But yeah, so I'm co-founder and CEO of Hurdlr. That's my new venture. But my prior venture was a real estate management platform for affordable housing. I had that for 10 years. It's called Visual Homes. I did that from 2000 to 2010. Built it up to manage 500,000 rental units, a couple million residents. We were running around 200 million in monthly rental processing through the system.
Wow.
That was for subsidized units, so market rate would have been closer to $1 billion a month.
Cool.
And so we had like solid platforms in place. It was acquired by a company called Yardi, which has half of all U.S. apartment buildings using their software. Very reputable company. I exited that about 6 years ago, and I'm happy to say that all the customers and employees are still there, which is rare.
That's awesome. So it didn't get acquired and then swallowed up and fragmented and distributed and absorbed.
Nothing like that.
That's cool.
And I'm not, that kind of speaks to who I am, like as a person too. Like I prefer to build long-term value, and I think that's something key for listeners. That I talk about value proposition like all day long. Like you have to have a solid value prop, and people always think that they have real differentiators and they're not. Like you really have to think deeply about what is your value prop? What are you bringing to the table? Because now we have the internet and things are just readily available for everything. So you got to have a solid value prop that says, in addition, like when you pair me up with the internet, then it's awesome. Like this, then we're talking, right? But me without the internet, or the internet without me rather, is not as compelling, right?
Mhm.
So we have to think in terms of that. But yeah, so I've been, I don't know, I feel like I've been an entrepreneur since I was in 5th grade, because that's when I started selling candy, buying it at bulk food at the grocery store and selling it for 10 cents, and then moving on up to a quarter in 6th grade. And then I did,
It's inflation.
I did the raking of the leaves, the snow shoveling, the car washing. I had my detail business. These were all cash businesses, right? There wasn't anything.
What? You weren't properly reporting all of your income to the government in 5th grade?
All straight profit.
How dare you?
And it was going into my bank account, so I was paying tax on the interest. These days, that's a moot point, but back then, you actually earned interest on a savings account. And then I sold sodas.
Yeah, nobody under the age of 25 has any idea what you're talking about.
No.
I sold sodas at the golf tournaments for $1 a can.
Damn.
And procured them for like less than 20 cents a can, so that was pretty profitable. Made thousands in a weekend. And then I ended up going to college. So I worked for a small wireless software startup for a year. After that, it was always my own business.
Very cool.
And just one. So I'm not a serial entrepreneur. I'm just currently working on my second venture.
So that would make you a serial then.
Yeah, apparently it does. Yeah.
Yeah. Depends on how you want to build out your link.
To me, it always sounds like 10. Like when my friends say, "Oh yeah, he's a serial entrepreneur," I'm like, "Well, I'm only working on my second venture, and I have no plans for a third."
That's like the guy who goes out and is an axe murderer and just kills one person and then goes and kills a second person. He is now in a serial. All
right. That's funny. So Raj, I was going over your the interview you did on Mixergy, which is a great one. People should go check that out. I mean, it's
Andrew's
a
awesome.
great podcast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so he delved into a little bit on how you started the company and really got a chance to go into your value proposition, which you mentioned. But how did you cold call potential customers and really narrow that down and find out what they needed so that you put together the right value prop?
Yeah, so that's key. That's one of the best things about cold calling in general, is because you're feeling out. It's a two-way conversation. First of all, it's not one-way pitch. Nobody wants a one-way. Nobody's interested in that. They didn't ask to be called by you.
Nope.
So it's a two-way conversation, and you should be listening most of the time, asking the right questions and listening. And that's how you really refine what value are you trying to provide. So if you don't go at it from a sales perspective, when I build products, I look for the value prop to be so strong it should stand on its own. It could you can have the lousiest pitch, you say a big team and they're not, someone isn't great at pitching it, but the product is so good it stands on its own, right? That's what you want.
Yeah, that's what the best marketing does for you. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So in my prior venture, I identified early on that I wanted to work with the top 500 agencies in my market, right? So I got a list of the top 500 and who are the key people at those top 500, and I literally spent the whole summer cold calling every single one, and I made sure that I interviewed each and every one of those people that I wanted to talk with at those 500 agencies. Cool. A lot of time spent on that, but it was a conversation. It wasn't... Yeah. I mean, I didn't even have anything to sell yet.
Well, you're just building your reputation. You're building good rapport. You're building
rapport. Yeah, relationship. I understood. Then after doing that, I understood the entire market landscape. Sometimes you can buy that in the form of a multi-$1,000 report, that some consulting firm puts out, but you still don't get the real stuff in there. It's not like you actually talked with people and understood what they're really looking for.
That's totally true. I mean, here's an analogy. My brother and I were in Paris a number of years ago, and I'm like, "Hey, Beej," his name Brad. We call him BJ forever in a day until he got all grown up and shit and had to have a real name. But I'm like, "Hey, Beej, let's take a taxi to this restaurant we're going to." He's like, "No, dude, we're gonna walk it." Because that's the only way you can get to know a neighborhood. And that's the exact same way when it comes to doing cold calls. You can buy the reports, right? That's taking the taxi. But walking it, doing it yourself, getting to know the neighborhoods and the people and what's going on, AKA the landscape of the business, anything else, that's when you really get to have the feel of the industry. And that's when you can actually bring true value to whoever you're going to be talking to. Because if you're talking to Matt and then you talk to me, and then maybe Matt and I would be, we could bring something to each other, or you could be, the three of us could come together on something. That's the true value. I'm going to venture out and say that's probably one of the key indicators and reasons why you were so successful at this, because you weren't just cookie cutter. You weren't just average guy out there doing it. You were legitimate, and you brought some really cool info.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think so. If you look at that, even that business, like it was very niche, right? And my goal was to be the best provider in that niche industry, and that's what we did. The whole thing was to build a reputation, and a reputation, like when people talk about like their brand, the brand, a lot of times people talk, oh, I'm going to hire a designer and make a nice logo. Yeah, that's nice. It's an element, but it's not. Your brand is like all the actions you take over a period of time. That's how people perceive your company. That's what your brand becomes. And I wanted ours to be on reputation built on customer success, not on like marketing hype, right? Because long term, that's what's going to come out of it. And that's that. It's like I always say, I'm the same person inside my house as when I walk out the front door. I only have one set of values, right? It's my personal values that I apply to business. I don't have a separate set of business values that will do anything for money. That just doesn't work in the long term. And
so agree with you.
yeah, and I think that comes through when you talk with folks. Like, you can't bullshit about that. Like, you are who you are, right? Like, when people say, oh, it's just business, like, that's the worst thing I could ever hear. It makes
That's
no
bullshit.
sense. Like, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
then get on the
It's
internet
to
and
do
just sell
unethical
some crap.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Then I would move to a foreign country, get on the internet, don't interact with anyone, and just have, like, automated stuff. If all you wanted to do is just make money with no meaning, it's fine. But that it's just not a way, at least for me, and I think most folks, it's not a way to live.
Matt, we found your new calling. Yeah. Matt, you can move to a different country, never have to go see people, and you can make money on the internet. This is perfect, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's not what I want to do either, because it's not, in the end, I mean, it's like Tony Robbins said, there's a difference between what they said, the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. I mean, and it really is an art, because you can achieve all you want, whether it's money, whether it's whether it's success, acclaim, the respect of your peers, and all that stuff, and it's great. Like, especially as guys, like, we need that. There's a big part of our ego that's driven by that. But in the end, we have to have the fulfillment part, which is why so many people get into coaching and consulting in some form or another of helping people, because at the end, like, you achieve something, and then you look around, and you're like, all right, well, okay, that's great. I've got myself. Now I'm comfortable. Okay, now the next step is, okay, how can I help other people get to where I am or get farther or whatever? Like, there's that innate drive that we all have, that once we get to somewhere, we want to help other people get to that same thing. And if you don't do that, if you don't make that a part of the process of building long-term value and getting where you want by helping other people, you'll get there and you'll hit that plateau and you'll be like, well, crap, now what do I do?
This is it?
There's a lot of guys out there that are like that, because they build businesses in just, run-of-the-mill boring industries, like let's say it's mortgage or real estate or whatever the case is, where sometimes you build and scale a business out, and I run into a lot of these guys, and they've actually removed themselves a lot from the customer interaction. So they interact a lot with their team, but they're removed from the impact that they have on their customers, and so they're sitting back, like, they just see the business, like the business grows and they make a lot of money and stuff like that, and they lose that fulfillment part. So I love the idea. So go a little bit deeper on the building long-term value, because like you mentioned that you're not already looking at your third venture. I mean, I'm sure you, being around the startup community, you probably know a lot of guys that, yeah, they're working on this, but they've already got the next idea, or they know there's going to be another idea 5 years from now, but you're not thinking that way. You're thinking about long-term value. So what does that really mean to you to, like, build up that asset of long-term value?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in focus. I don't look at like you're talking about next venture. Like, it just doesn't resonate with me. So in the past, I was an active angel investor. And when I say in the past, meaning like I'm not as active in the last couple of years, but I have over 40 investments. I think it's close to $2 million I've invested across those 40, including follow-ons, and it's headed in the right direction. But like, when I was going through that and doing due diligence, and I did that for 4 or 5 years, active post sale of my prior venture, or before it exited, and then mostly afterwards, I'd come across founders who are doing multiple things, and I think that can work for some people. For me, it doesn't. it never resonated, because what are you really going after? Like here, when you're talking about you achieve something, and then a lot of folks go into coaching because they want to give back, they want to affect more people. Like that was basically that. Like when you're talking about that, it just reminds me of like why I'm doing my current venture. It's to affect millions of entrepreneurs, to help them do their thing. Like that was the purpose of the product that we're building. And it's something that you want to last forever. Like I can always call upon my clients from my prior business, my team. In fact, I have my new venture is the first 5 of us are from my prior venture.
Nice.
And that creates a solid base, because then when you bring on new team members, they see like this is a guy in a company that's thinking long term. They have people that work together already for 10 years, right? So it's not transaction oriented. I think it's still going back with those personal values that you got to think long term. Like I get like means to an end, and I understand that, and it has its place sometimes. Like if you're in like you just can't make ends meet. But a lot of times, like I'll come across folks who, they say, well, they can't really make ends meet, but their expenses are extraordinary. Like, you don't have to live like, like this crazy lifestyle. You can have a normal lifestyle and not compromise your values just to fund this crazy lifestyle. So there's different. I think there's definitely different ways. I've been the same, like regardless, like, from back in the day. Like it wouldn't matter. Whatever way I live, like I can live any which way. I think, it's important, but I think that value, that long-term value, is really key. And it's not. You have to keep like, when you're talking about folks that aren't in touch with the customers, it reminded me like I know a lot of folks who talk about they preach working on the business, not in the business. That's a big. In some circles, that's a big thing. Like for me, like I appreciate that, but it doesn't resonate with me because I like both. I like working on the business. I like working in the business. We have live in-app chat with our over 50,000 users on our app. Like they can ping us anytime and we chat with them. And I look at all of those. Like I've literally seen every single conversation because that's how I stay in touch with what's going on. How do we need to move forward? How else can we help our entrepreneur users? Because the app does so many things, but they need help. People need help in general, like with all kinds of stuff, right? And when you start,
yes, they do.
when you start helping people with stuff, then they start asking you, well, can you help me in this way? I know your app doesn't do this, but could you also help me with this? So we have to do that. Like we're stewards of them. We're supposed to help them. When we build that brand that they want us to help them, they love us helping them, then we need to do more things.
Yeah, we do. And that's the thing about it. It's the law of reciprocity. You give before asking for anything. They'll give back to you in bigger ways because you don't know what your value train is going to bring to them, and then how's it going to spill down to the next person behind them and behind them and behind them, just based upon your one action. And so, I believe wholeheartedly in that. I mean, I do a thing called the McDaniel Challenge. I coach people around the country and around the world every single night, 4 nights a week, and it's amazing, like to your point, just bringing value to somebody. Yeah, for free, at zero cost, no strings attached whatsoever. And people's lives have been dramatically changed for the positive. And they come back and tell me, Greg, I'm in the business, or I'm making money, or my mindset has changed, or whatever else it is. And it's the most gratifying thing on planet Earth because I had no idea that I was going to be able to make this kind of change. And so, I mean, that's kind of you have a moral compass. I have a moral compass. We're still up in the air on Matt on his moral compass. But
yeah, that's fine. It's the pastor's kid that has less of a moral compass. That's fine. Right? All right, so Raj, I want to ask you this. So one of the big things, and I love the fact that you talk about like wanting to work in the business still while you're working on it and kind of doing both, because I feel like there are a lot of people in real estate that are like that, and any real sales profession. A lot of people go into the type of business that we're in because they genuinely like people, which I actually do. Greg, thank you very much. Despite everything that Greg says, he likes to play that off. But
yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Like people, so I that's why I host podcasts. That's why I'm on live video like freaking 10 hours a week hosting various podcasts because I like people. But so. I think there's a lot of people that want to build a business where they have both feet in. Yes, they're working on it. Yes, it's growing, but they still have that personal connection to their customers. So it's cool that you have you've built a business where you're allowed to do that, and it thrives because you do both. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah,
customer success, like they use a term. It's becoming more popular now. It's interesting to me because
it's results.
Yeah, and it's like I had a customer success team between 2000 and 2010 as part of my prior venture, and that was the name. Like it was customer success. So I find it interesting, like just like I was doing content marketing back then. At that time, it didn't necessarily have the name of content marketing. Customer success has been around. It's amazing to me that it wasn't as popular back then as it is now. It's picking up a lot of steam, and I hope more companies and people just embrace that because it's very simple to me. It's when we talk about personal values, like as a consumer, you expect a certain level of service with anything that you procure or buy. Like you expect that. You have a certain standard. So as a business owner, how could you think it's okay to provide anything less than that to your customers? Like that's a double standard. It doesn't make any sense. So you have to do what you would want.
Yeah, but see, a lot of people don't think that way, though. I mean, a lot of people just think, how can I do the shortest, workaround or the fastest way to profit? And if I have to cut a couple corners and people don't get the exact quality of product that they deserve, what I would want to buy, fuck them. I'm going to do it my way because I make more money, and that's the wrong way of going about it. That's why our industries are so screwed up because people look at it that way. And like Raj, like you, like Matt, like myself, we all look at this as a value-add prop. What's the biggest amount of value I can bring to someone? How do I want to be treated? And then people respond to that, and they'll spread the word for you. They'll become little microphones and bullhorns for you because you give before you ask for anything because you give quality.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the 1950s.
That's the thing you talk about, word of mouth referrals. Like our growth, my app growth has come purely off of referrals. Like, and that's because we're taking care of our users.
Yeah.
Like it's that simple. And same thing like with real estate. I mean, if you're an agent, you should have a significant percentage of your business is referrals always because it's a long-term thing. People are around. You sold them a house. Like not we didn't sell
not a pen. It costs, a box of these costs 15. No, it doesn't work like that.
Seriously, you sold them their home. It couldn't get more serious. It's unbelievable.
Hey, Rush, before we move on too much, fill people in real quick on what the app does and why they should care.
Sure. So Hurdlr is it's a mobile app for entrepreneurs simply to track and manage all their business, finances, and taxes. And it's something that when I looked at the market years ago, and even still, like everything software-wise moved from Windows to the web, but it didn't really change like how the interactions were. It just changed like arguably where they took place. They still took place on your computer. Modern entrepreneurs are just always on the go. They don't have time. Like you could take a client to Starbucks, $8 expense. You don't have time to like record all this stuff. It's not worth the $4 savings, the 50% off that you're gonna get. But I thought as a use case, just even in that, if you could get a 50% off coupon to Starbucks, if Starbucks is your thing, whatever coffee shop you like, for 2 seconds of your time.
You're speaking my language, yeah.
Yeah, for 2 seconds, just 2 seconds of your time and no obligation. Like you're not filling anything out. Just 2 seconds of your time, 50% off every single time. I think that's a great value prop, right? So that's what our app does. You sync it with your business credit card, and when you take that client to the Starbucks, once that transaction hits your credit card, you get a push notification on your phone that says, yeah, this $8 expense at this Starbucks on this diet, pre-categorized meals and entertainment. All you have to do is tap a check mark, and ultimately it'll be integrated with your calendar, and it'll say you had it with this client, and all you're doing is just tapping yes, that's correct, and
sweet.
You're done.
That's awesome.
Right? And that's just one example, but we have like it does real-time income tax calculations. So for like real estate agents are mostly independent, right? So it tells them what their actual take-home pay is, what their profit is, and for agents, we made a specialized app called Profit Dash that actually gives you your P&L all the way down to the listing level. So you can see your profitability for your whole business, but you can also see all the mileage, time, and expenses you had per listing, right? What? So you start seeing like where you're actually profitable, and in time you start honing in on, what type you should focus on.
Oh my gosh, you could actually set an ideal client type, Greg, and maybe not take all clients. Every client?
Maybe, Matt, but I still disagree with that bullshit comment.
Yeah.
You still every client equals the same exact level of service, Matthew.
Yes, but not the same level of profitability. Anyway, all right. So
No, they
that's
don't.
awesome. So before we move
Hurdlr.com. It's HURDLR.com, or you can type in Hurdlr into the App Store or Google Play. And if you're a real estate agent, we also have Profit Dash. It's just one word, Profit Dash. And that's all on Hurdlr.com as well. And if you want to chat with myself or any of our team members, all of our apps have in-app chat. You can literally just tap on the icon and start talking with us.
Cool, man.
I'm looking at it right now. It's pretty damn cool.
Yeah. So how did you go about putting the value prop for the app together? What was that research and calling process like?
Yeah, so it's pretty tricky. So we first started. We first built a platform. So I had a sense already because I have a lot of entrepreneurs in my networks, and I was chatting with folks overall, like on a high level, like what type of concept I had, and it was basically just a mobile finance management app. And this, when I started working on this 4 or 5 years ago, over 50% of the entrepreneurs that I talked with were like, why would I want to do my finances on my phone? And I
baby,
said,
it's easy.
yeah, and I said, so if we think like that many years ago, like smartphones weren't as ubiquitous. But I said all the research that I was reading on smartphones, it just seemed like it was an inevitable conclusion. And for a lot of them, I couldn't answer. I said, I don't know, but it just seems like I'd be foolish if I'm starting a software venture to not focus on mobile. And I knew that there are all these mobile entrepreneurs and sales folks and just people hustling around. I just didn't see why they would want to do things in their office. They weren't already doing it. People don't stay on top of this stuff because it's incredibly boring, and it doesn't usually add value. So I wanted, and this is part of the name. Why is it Hurdlr? Because these are obstacles to your business growth. Yeah, it doesn't really add value a lot of times, but you still have to do it. Like taxes are due. You need to know your numbers if you're actually going to end up making money, and you need these things to make good decisions. So how can I make it so it's automated in your pocket and just like out of your way, basically? How do you make it smart? How do you leverage all the different data out there? I can pull that data together and give you a digital receipt. Right? I can take your credit card info securely, of course, and I can match it up with your calendar and the time on your phone and maybe a picture of a receipt. But even without the picture of your receipt, I can actually create the digital receipt for you and then just send you a notification. All you have to do is say, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. You don't have to actually enter all this stuff in.
Yeah. So the app is kind of pushing the rather than them having to pull the information out because it's available. It's not that there's not other things that do something where you can pull the information out, but that's like the next frontier is the app pushing the information that you need right when you need it, and the human being just confirming yes, that's what I want, like moving on with life. So it's like it takes a lot of the mental effort out of it. It's really just you confirming and then moving on, right?
Yeah, moving on. And who doesn't want to profit? Like,
yes, well,
who
we
doesn't
all
want to make money? Yeah. So if you're getting free
we were talking
money,
about this before we went on the air, like the concept of strategic expenses. I want to make sure that you get a chance to go into that because that's where it's at. I mean, if you're going to have expenses, let's make sure they're strategic and then the right kind. So what are the right kind of expenses?
Yeah, so like strategic expenses I define as, so we know that business expenses, first off, their business expenses are fully tax deductible in general, right? Of course, like there's certain meals and entertainment categories that aren't fully deductible, but most business expenses are 100% tax deductible. And so we call strategic expenses business expenses that for each dollar you spend, you get multiple dollars in return for it, right? So one of the best ones is lead generation, right? So if you find sources of lead gen that for every dollar you put in, you get multiple dollars back, $5 back for every dollar you put in. Unless you had a cash flow issue, why wouldn't you put more money into that bucket, right? Because it's ultra strategic because, of course, it grows your business, but it's fully tax deductible, right? So you get to write that off and lower your taxable income at the same time. So if you see the long term, there's a compounding effect where you keep on growing. It's like investing in your business through those strategic expenses, but they're not as harsh up front because assuming you take the write-off, like you have to actually track it and report it properly so you can get that actual write-off, and it's not as expensive as you think, right? So those are the kind of things.
What would be classified as lead generation? You know, is there specific things you classify it as, or could it be like you said, like taking a friend out for a cup of coffee or a beer or a lunch or anything else? Is it, is it mileage going to a marketing meeting? I mean, what does lead generation mean?
Yeah, so like you're pointing out, it's different forms. I think like I know in real estate, like one of the key ways you have like Zillow Premier Agents, right? And the advertising you do on Zillow, if you know that you get an ROI on that, right? I know a lot of top agents get a high ROI on that. That's something that you want to put more into because you can write that off 100%. Right? You can reduce your taxable income and get more leads and convert those into actual customers. And I think even like you're pointing out, meals and entertainment, if you know that anytime you take a potential client out to dinner, let's say you have a 50% closing rate, let's call it, or success rate, whatever you want to call it, that for every 2 potential clients you take out, you get one of them as a customer, right? Without compromising your values. But if that happens, then you should probably increase the amount of times you take clients out.
Yeah.
Right?
Like
you look at like where are all the places you get customers and what are those sources and which ones have the highest ROI, and can you spend more money in those buckets and keep growing that base? Because yeah, it costs some money up front, but you can write that off.
I like that a lot because I spend a lot of time and a lot of money on prospecting. I use Mojo triple line dialer. We do a lot of mailings. We do a lot of postcards. We do a lot of web leads. We do a lot of stuff like that. I mean, we had to cut out like 7 lead generation systems 2 months ago. I mean, and now we're doubling down. We just hired a company called FirePoint here, and
Nice.
they're a killer organization for us, and so we're going to start tracking it. So we're going to know where we're spending our lead generation money, and then going to double down on it. So that's
you
so
definitely have to
critical.
track it to know what your strategic expenses are. If you don't track anything, you never know what those are.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's like, so in coming from, like, I'm on my second software venture, so they have a thing called CAC, customer acquisition cost, right? So we know what those are, and so I try to take those things and apply it to, I'll call it normal businesses or non-software businesses, right? So that's basically like, if you know what it costs for you to get a customer and you know those sources, then you know like where you should be spending your marketing dollars. And if you're getting that clear ROI, then of course you should be spending a lot more on that.
Exactly.
Well, and that's where everybody forgets. You know, like if you start a service business, consulting, coaching, anything like that, like a lot of people that want to get into that field, they will look at it and go, okay, I have X set of services, and it costs me X to deliver it, and I get Y back in return. And they go, great, I can scale this up, and it'll be great. Like I can take this many clients, and we can do this, and we can do that, and it'll make this much money. And they leave out that tiny little part. Customer acquisition cost.
It's a
like,
part
look,
of that.
the world doesn't know who you are, and you're going to have to tell them about it, and that costs money. So it's funny how much people leave that out and just underestimate that they're going to pick everything up through word of mouth and hustle and things like that are free, and nothing's really free. Even your own time isn't really free.
Time is definitely not.
Yeah, especially if you're a successful entrepreneur in some other venture, like you investing time, hustle into acquiring clients for something, some other additional venture or something like that, that's a lot of time you're taking out. That's money you're taking out of whatever else you're doing. So you have to factor that into things. So if anybody is listening and you're, like if you're already successful in real estate and you're thinking about getting into coaching and consulting on top of that, take that into account. And we may have the answer to that, which is what me and Greg and Aaron Wittenstein are building, is to help guys like that could potentially or would like to coach or already coaching in some like unofficial capacity, but like don't want to build out the whole infrastructure, or that would take too much time away from their main business, but they would love to help people. We're helping to like create a venue where they can do that without having to build all the infrastructure, because that's a ton, and it all factors into that customer acquisition cost. But so let's go. I want to cover in the last few minutes that we have left the true profit formula that we were talking about before we went on the air, and how do you explain that to people, and what are some of the actions and decisions that you can make as a result of understanding that a little bit better?
Sure. So the true profit formula is for entrepreneurs and business owners and independent professionals, even if you're doing like side gigs, things on the side. It's very simple. It's earnings or income minus expenses minus taxes. That equals your true profit.
Wait a
And so
minute, you got to pay
difference
taxes?
is-
Shit, that's why they have. That's why
Unfortunately.
I keep
Well,
getting
if you're making money, you do.
IRS.
If you don't have to pay taxes, then you're not really in a good situation.
No, yeah. Yeah, very true.
I always say it's a privilege.
That's right. It's
I learned that
only,
at a
only
very
my,
young
I
age.
don't make anything. It's only my shell companies that make any money.
Yeah, I make nothing. No, seriously,
Yeah,
$1 a
exactly.
year is what I make.
Exactly.
You can have my 20 cents, IRS. There you go, dickhead.
Yeah, I mean that's one way to keep pushing it forward. That's ultra strategic. Yeah, man. Whatever models work for you, but you know the typical definition of profit is just earnings minus expenses. My definition is earnings minus expenses minus taxes, because if you're in charge of your own business, you need to know what those are as well, because it's after taxes, after you take the expenses and taxes out, that's what your actual keep is,
Yeah.
right? And you need to be keenly aware of your taxes, because that helps you do two things. I mean, one key thing is it helps you reduce the amount of taxes that you pay, and then on top of that, it lets you strategically reduce the amount of taxes you pay, because you could say, well, I want to increase my strategic expenses to then, which was also going to compound and increase your earnings in the long run. Or you could just say, like, okay, I'm fine as is. I'm running a lifestyle business. I just want to maintain my actual true profit. So then you just want to make sure that you're taking advantage of what's available to you. These, you know, taking advantage of tax deductions, there's nothing wrong with that. The government set that up because they want to help businesses grow. So when you leverage a tax deduction, that doesn't it doesn't set off an alert at the IRS that, oh yeah, we should audit this person because they wrote off a $50 dinner. It doesn't work like that. 10% of citizens get audited every year, and it's random pretty much, and that's it. Like, you don't have to worry about that. It's not going to make it happen any quicker. It's not going to make it happen later. I think in your lifetime you're supposed to be audited at some point. And
How dare
that's
they?
it.
I'm knocking on wood right now.
Yes.
I'm like, no audits.
Yeah, but that's good. So I mean, it's so in order to take advantage of that and really understand like the true profit formula in the sense of making decisions that actually improve your life and improve your business, you have to understand what your strategic expenses are, so that you can go, okay, if I increase my expenses, I'll actually reduce my taxes, but it counts what I spend on. If the expenses aren't strategic, yeah, I'll cut my tax bill, but you're still spending money that doesn't need to be necessarily spent. So if you know what your strategic expenses are, the ones that get you $2 back for every dollar that you spend, then it pays to look at those things and go, okay, well maybe, you know, coming up, it's the last 4 months of the year, there are some things that I would like to invest on next year. Maybe I should start those things at the end of this year instead of waiting until after January, because then they'll cut my tax bill for April. Now, getting agents to think that far ahead is like pushing up, well, it's like pushing up 100 tiny boulders up a hill. But
In the snow.
Yeah, in the snow. That's right. But it is true, and it is something to consider. And it's really frustrating. I think agents, once they start experience this, they really have to go through it for a couple years, where they have like a successful year or two, and then get dinged really bad on the taxes. Then that drives the lesson home, and they go, all right, let's get an accountant. Let's get this figured out. Like I was looking at like the Hurdlr site, where you see like the dashboard and like your daily expenses, and you're like calculating your tax up to the moment. I mean, that's really powerful for forcing you to go back and say, okay, I need to know what my strategic expenses are, because otherwise I'm going to get nailed, and I don't want to get nailed. I would like to enjoy my life, and I do not enjoy speaking with the IRS. So how about we not do that? So so that's what I like about that, is the ability to really keep it on the forefront and to understand what your cash flow is, because cash flow, I mean, when you're living off of your business, unless you're Warren Buffett or someone like that, where your individual income is pretty much taken care of and the business is gravy on top, that's not most of us. The business is our lifestyle, and that's a big deal. So I love that, like the ability to keep your eye on the cash flow and stuff. So what are some of the like, where do you get started if someone wanted to, well, first of all, take the first step? We talked about how they can actually download the app, but what are some of the things that they need to do either to get ready and to be able to put and track the right information so they can make better decisions?
So the first thing is to have, it's a simple thing, have a separate credit card and bank account that you only use for business expenses and business income. Like, do not mix personal and business in the same accounts. Now, it doesn't mean that you need to get a small business bank account. You can get any one you want, whichever ones have rewards and no fees or low fees, whatever you like. But just use it for business, because right off the bat, without using any other tool, then you know what your total business income is, and you know your total business expenses right there, even if you do nothing else. The second step, once you do that, of course, the second step is basically then you get your categories, you get your buckets kind of automatically. Even credit cards, they're not as good as weird buckets, but they do have buckets, so at least you get something there. But you can use our app, you can use other apps. We have smart categorization algorithms, so start telling you what your actual expenses are in these buckets, so you can start seeing those breakdowns. And now you get to start seeing, well, this bucket over here isn't really strategic at all. It doesn't do anything. It's not actually a necessary business expense. Like when we talk about real estate agents, like if you spend a lot on office expenses, of your time is spent in the office. And what percentage of your time are your clients actually in your office?
0.
You have to really look at that value. Do you really need all that? Versus you can be based out of home, and then you can so you eliminate the office expense, but now you can also leverage a home office tax deduction.
Yeah.
Right? So that's like ultimate optimization, where you eliminate one expense and you take additional tax deductions.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
And you also save a lot of time not commuting. A lot of time.
Greg.
Matt.
Yeah.
Old commute over there. Was it like 15 steps for you?
My commute is 10 yards from my bedroom to the stand-up desk.
You got to cut that down in half. That's too.
Yeah, exactly.
Matt, come on.
Yeah,
You're wasting time.
I'll build a window between the rooms where I can just shoulder roll into the next room and start working. But but that would be good for you, Greg. I mean, that's you're getting your place redone. I know it's gonna be all pimped out and ready for working. But yeah.
No, yeah.
I'm sure you guys pay a pretty penny for your place there in downtown Danville.
Yeah, Walnut Creek, but whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. As soon as it gets done, I'm gonna be working from home a lot more. I've actually thought about something. Raj, give me your thought on this as well. On tax expenses, I'm gonna try to do this. I'm gonna try to take a 2-week hiatus off of my office and work purely mobile, or from my house, and see what my production level does one way or the other. In that time frame, let's say other agents are doing that. A lot of people are completely mobile. They have tablets, laptops, cell phones. They're out and about. Starbucks, Matt's second home, and that's like yep. They even serve me coffee. But what could I write off and what could I not write off when I'm out and about during a normal day, for any other agent as well? Okay,
I thought you were going to ask me, could you write off your home office deduction for those 2 weeks, and I'm not sure that's a good idea. Even if you did it correctly, it wouldn't amount to much.
No, 36 cents. Congratulations.
Yeah. But certainly out and about during the day, so any driving, of course, that you're doing for business specifically, so not like to the grocery store unless you're meeting a client there.
There could be a client there. You never know. I haven't met him yet. You never know.
Yeah. So as long as you meet that potential client there, then you could do that. So if you went there for lead gen, it could be a great place to lead gen. I mean, I've heard stories in the past how it's great for personal lead gen for dating.
Just stand at the front door.
I've never tried that. Yeah, I've never tried that myself.
With your business card, like, hi, I'm single. Hi, I'm single. Hi, I'm single. Hi, I'm single.
I think it's in the produce aisle specifically.
Those are nice melons. Those are very nice melons. Oh, I am talking about melons here.
Yeah, but so out and about, so yeah, definitely you're driving, and then meals and entertainment. So you can make those things strategic. When you talk about the coffee shop, I was at Mega Camp recently, and I heard a story about a gentleman who makes his office is his local Starbucks. He's friends with all the baristas, and he camps out there, and he hands out a certain number of cards every day, and he's known there now that he gets business for that's where he gets most of his lead gen from.
This is what I've been fucking saying. I've been preaching this shit from the fucking rooftop for forever. Thank you for compounding that. God, victory. Me. Awesome. Matt's like, God damn it, stop, Raj, stop saying Greg's right. This is not going to work.
Yeah, this is his head. Well, the good news is he's not going to be able to get home because his head won't fit through his office door. So this is great. He'll get stuck in his office. All right, so mileage and meals and entertainment are the most logical things. I would also think that he might be like if he got a separate cell phone or a separate data plan for, let's say, a tablet or something like that, you can write that kind of stuff off. If it's too much personal, or if it is your personal cell phone that you just use for business, that's where it gets a little debatable on whether you can claim it and stuff like that. But any of your apps, like if you're mobile and you get apps specifically for business, that's a pretty common sense thing. All of your real estate software, your CRM, anything that you're doing that's up on your tablet that you got because you're mobile, all that would count and be deductible and stuff like that. And that's usually pretty easy to track, because if you're paying by the month for a subscription software service for real estate, whatever it is, it's all hopefully running through your business account, separate business account, and then that's automatically kind of coming right out of your business income, and it's trackable at the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, and then our app, you can sync your personal card as well, and as the transactions come in, you can just quickly tag it as personal or business. Like, it's that simple. Cool. And then for business ones, for real estate agents, you can tag it to a particular listing as well. So if you have like big staging expense that you're covering, or meals and entertainment, or just other things that you're doing specifically for a listing, like even your time. So like if you're driving around and you have your mileage, you tag that to the listing. You're taking a buyer around house hunting on a Saturday, that whole thing gets tagged to that buyer, and you can even apply a time value. So set the value of your hourly rate. You don't bill it out as a real estate agent, but you should still have your own time value. And you set that in our app, and it'll even capture the time of that driving. So they apply that to the record as well. So really? Like not just the deduction, but like I spent 6 hours of my time working with this client.
No shit.
That's really cool.
I've got to get this app. Because I mean, if I was gonna give to the IRS and the amount of time I spend with Matt, I mean, they'd be paying me.
Oh,
that's a charitable deduction, right?
Yes, it's a charitable deduction. That's right. Working with underprivileged white boys. All right, so let's start to wrap this one up.
I had to check off Asian when I applied for college. That didn't help at all.
That's right.
Oh my God, that's
awesome. All right, so Raj, remind people of where they need to go to download the app.
Awesome. Yeah, sure. You can go to hurdlr.com, HURDLR.com, and click on there, get the app, and if you go there from your smartphone, it'll just take you exactly where you need to go to download. That's the simplest way.
And then Profit Dash, is that an option within Hurdlr?
Yep. Yeah, it's all there. Yeah,
cool.
Goes right
so
there. You can tap on. Yeah, you go to hurdlr.com, tap on realtors, and that'll direct you exactly where you need to go. Or you can go to profitdash.co. Eventually, we'll procure.com. But yeah, it's mostly word of mouth and referral, because we're just going by excellent customer experience and customer success. Right? That's the best way. You build up raving fans because the value stands on its own. Right? You don't even have to ask. Like, you just deliver great service, and people will reward you for it. It's that simple.
That's very, very true. And there's 1,000 different podcasts out there, but when I have an opportunity to talk to people about, and they love what we're doing on this show, because they like how Matt and I get along. We joke with each other and constantly pick on each other right and left and upside down and backwards. And they're like, you know what? We bring a lot of value. We bring entertainment. Then they tell their friends, and then the friends tell their friends. Just kind of like what your product is, because we're giving before we're asking for anything. We're jabbing. At one point, we're going to do a right hook. But right now, we're just jabbing away, just bringing value, making people better for just for using a product that we provided, because we wanted to solve a problem like you did.
Yep, definitely.
That's the coolest part.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Speaking of jabbing, so more free value. You can go to gregsfavoritescripts.com, get his free scripts with links to videos where he actually goes through all the different scripts. And then the right hook for today is go to farmlikegreg.com. So that's the complete video training course where Greg goes super, super deep on how to pick out your demographic or geographic farm, how to prospect, cold, warm, and hot leads, how to run events, how to work Zillow, the whole 9 yards is all there. Farmlikegreg.com. So anyway, with all that said, that will do it. So
hold on, I do need to do some shout outs really quickly, because these people are worth mentioning. Okay. Suri, she called me It'll call me about circle prospecting script. Glad you got it. Margaret Combs is a new listener. Matt, she loves it when I drop the fuck bombs. So awesome, Margaret. Christy, what's going on? Wendy, she can't wait to get together and talk in November. I can't wait to talk with you, Heather. Elle, she did want to do some circle prospecting. She thinks what we're doing, Matt, is kicking some butt. So thank you so much, Elle. Mike, John Richmond, Daniel, we can't do the tracking sheet yet. I'm working on that. I got to work with the T Diddy, the Grandmaster, about that. Michelle, thank you so much for thinking of me about the referral of your sister. That's awesome. This next year. So thank you very much. I cannot wait to work with her. And then Ken for the McDaniel Challenge. He's taken. What the fuck did I mean by this? Vacations, very funny. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry, dude. My shorthand didn't work. But take the McDaniel Challenge, guys. I've one more day in February. Legitimately one more day in February, and then you're going to be a March kids. You're going to hang out with Matt's kids. Nobody likes Matt's kids. They're stinky. And they're fat. But yeah, February 28th, and then we move into March. The McDaniel Challenge, guys, is 1 to 2 hours of free coaching with moi. Pick up the phone. You can call me on my phone. It's here. It works. I pay the bills. Or message me on Facebook. Guys, there is no strings attached. Seriously, capital FREE, free. And it's a lot of fun. If anything's stopping you, blocking you, or hindering you from the goals in life that you want, you're the perfect person for this. And I cannot believe it. It will be March of 2017 if you don't get off your ass and dial some numbers. So please do it. My cell is 925-915-1978. So make it happen,
Cool.
Captain.
All right, guys. And then follow Greg on Snapchat as he's a Snapchatting fool, RE444. You can follow me across all platforms at Pursuing Results. And then, Raj, are you active on social media much?
Yeah, a little bit. I actually spend most of my time in our in-app chat.
Gotcha.
Cool.
All right,
Yeah.
good. So that's where people can reach you. Download the app and then contact them through chat. Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, man. Well, hey, it was a pleasure. I really appreciate you joining us, and Sharon, you brought a ton of awesome content. So it was great. So everybody else, make sure to join us. We'll be back here live on Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific. We've got Bob Stewart from Active Rain is actually going to be with us. So interesting conversation. That's Greg knows exactly what we're talking about and has not filled me in yet. So we'll see.
Nope. This is my evil plan. I'm going to keep Matt in the dark for once and be like, hey, Matt, guess what? I have controls of everything. Ha, 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 ha.
Yeah. All right, guys. Until then, have a great weekend. Thank you so much, guys, for listening and watching.